What's up, everybody? This is Omilani, and tonight it's the Boricua Takeover, but it's with a good cause. We are here today with Fuera Trump. And by the way, my name is Omilani, and I am a performing artist, but I'm also the director and founder of Latinegras. And I want to welcome you to the Mi Gente Pa Fuera weekly broadcast. And to tell you a little bit about it, Mi Gente launched Pa Fuera to have like special guests on talking about the cultural and the political things that are going on right now, because we know it's a lot going on. We're here to talk about the elections and getting out the Latino vote. Let me hear everybody say, si se puede. Actually, I can't hear you, but I can feel it. I know you all know that we have power as Latinos. That's right. Go out and vote, everyone, like Israel said. And at this time, I want to introduce you to Chef Roberto Pérez of Urban Pilon. He's based in Chi-Town, Chicago, and he's a chef, a musician. I found out he plays the drum. You know, he's a dope brother. He's a researcher of Afro-Caribbean traditions, and he describes Urban Pilon as a culinary movement with a mission to honor and preserve cooking traditions from Puerto Rico, the Caribbean, and Latin America. And he uses completely natural and healthy ingredients. So we welcome you here, and let the people know a little bit about you or what we're going to do today.
Yo, thank you everybody thank you for the invitation. Milani, thank you so much for the greeting and the welcome and the intro. Today we did a little bit of trickery, right? Because we got you in because we're going to be cooking, but also we're here to actually talk to you about voting, about getting out there, about making your voice count, and going and voting. And so we need you to go out there. But today at the same time, what we're going to do is we're going to do some beautiful food. We're going to do some beautiful cultural work. I want to talk to you guys. I want you guys to kind of participate. And I want to talk to you about all of these ingredients. I want to talk to you about history. I want to talk to you about the origins of sofrito. I want to know about some of the things that you guys have made at home, how you guys use sofrito. I want to hear about the variations of sofrito that you guys make. Yeah, I mean, I want to hear all that, and so I want to go through all of this. So, Milani, what do you think?
No, hey, this makes me feel so at home. It makes me feel so happy. I mean, what Boricua kitchen didn't have sofrito? So, and not the kind in a jar. For those of you
Right,
watching,
that's
not
right.
the not
And
Goya, okay?
no, no para hablar mal de nadie, but this is gonna be very different than that stuff you buy in the jar at the supermarket. If you ever read those ingredients, no para hablar mal, pero es una basura.
Yeah.
It's garbage. um, so, I mean, there's so much to talk about sofrito. Why would you use sofrito? Sofrito can be used in things like stews, guisados, the one pot rice meals, things like asopao, arroz con pollo, arroz con gandule, habichuelas guisadas. I mean, I put them in my crab cakes. I mean, I put sofrito in all my stuff. And I don't think I've ever thrown out sofrito because it's always in use at my house. Eso no se
And,
tira. Eso
and can
no
we
se.
talk about the smell of it?
That's
You know,
right.
like while
That's
it's
right.
being made and prepared. Oh my God, like that's why I wish, there were no COVID. Like if we could be live and like
That's
I'm
right.
always down to sample.
And it's something about like that essence and that smell where you like know it's real. Like it feels like home. You know?
Definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
We were just talking about these pilons you have around you. I have a big question. The first question is, where did this name come from? How did you become, like yeah, tell me about the whole story behind it. Why pilons in general?
I feel because I'm kind of a roots kind of cooking guy. I love history. I love I love like the restoring of old recipes. If it's old, I love that stuff. I love that stuff. So these are old cooking techniques. Um, Mi mamá de crianza, she was born in 1920,
Wow.
and she would talk about it being around 5 o'clock, but she was in Juncos, Puerto Rico. She came from a poor family, and they didn't have a lot of things like refrigeration. They didn't have a lot of things. Of course, they didn't have blenders. Pero algo que ellos tenían era un pilón. And
Mhm.
about dinner time, what she would constantly hear is, and she knew that it was about 5 o'clock and people were starting to make food,
Mhm.
and this was part of the food prep. And
Mhm.
so I think that's why that's a part of it,
Yeah.
part of it. Soy de Chicago, so le puse lo urbano también.
Mhm.
Pilon and the historical importance of it, and also it's something, Milani, that really connects us. This one in particular is from South Africa. This
Mhm.
one is from Ghana. This
Mhm.
one from Guayama. That one's from Pakistan. I have one from India. I have one from Trinidad. I have one from Veracruz, Mexico. I mean, I have them from all around the world, and so they're important pieces to kind of just like kind of bring us together. And I think at this time, I think if there's anything that we need some solidarity.
For sure, for sure. In
And
fact, on that subject, somebody was saying, I was reading something the other day,
you know,
and it was talking about like, mofongo. I'm thinking about how you serve mofongo and pilon and stuff like that. But they were comparing mofongo to fufu and
yeah,
yan and those things from West Africa. And if you look at a lot of Caribbean cultures and even some South American cultures, there's some variation of some things like
right.
yan or a mofongo or fufu. Like have you heard of that or
Oh, yeah, of course, there's the mango in the DR, in
yeah?
Haiti. una de maíz. There's the cuckoo also in Trinidad.
Oh yeah.
There's, you know, all these different variations. I learned one when I went to Veracruz, Mexico. You know, depending in Ghana, there's other variations. And so this is something also that connects us to the African diaspora and all of its influence into the Americas.
Mm.
So yeah, definitely esto se usa mucho para mofongo.
Yeah. Now we're gonna do something different and get the people involved. Let's see. We got a few trivia questions here. So, there are some things around Chef Urban Pilon that he uses for his sofrito. So, can you guess which one is cilantro and which one is culantro? Can you show them so they can guess A or B? Which one? Do you have it around you?
Bueno, este,
But don't give the answer though.
¿cuál es este? ¿Verdad?
Okay.
Which one is this? Which one is this? Right?
Oh, I already know the
And
answer.
hold on, hold on. Y tengo hasta otro más, mira aquí.
Okay.
All right. Maybe you recognize this, maybe you don't.
Oh, I got that growing in my yard.
That's another one right there. That's
Oh,
speaking of those roots,
yeah, I know what that is.
the old school, that right there. Eso también antes se usaba en el sofrito también.
Oh,
But anyways, when it comes to sofrito, there are some, as far as what I would say, there are some flavors that you're going to want, and recao or culantro is definitely one of them. Si
yeah.
no tienes recao, or if you don't have ajicitos, then it's not the same. It's not the same as sofrito. It's not the same flavors of home. It's just not. It's almost, you can do it, and I'm not discouraging you. You can make all kinds of cool variations, but it just doesn't have that flavor, Omigani.
Yeah.
Es como hacer un arrocito, and then you have un caldero así, or you have like a rice steamer. I'm not saying that in Puerto Rico, you know, that you can't make good rice in a rice steamer, but you know, people take you serious when you have a caldero.
Man, I'm telling you, hold up that pot a little bit so people can see that. If,
Eso es
if you
un
don't know what that
caldero.
is, see,
Eso es
I
un
can't,
caldero.
I can't
Ahí,
cook without one of those kind of pots. I have to have one.
right there, you have the ajicitos too. That
Yeah.
real is that is the flavors of Puerto Rican sofrito.
Yeah. It's just like there are certain ingredients we cannot do without, like we just like I don't know, when I don't have food with these ingredients, I feel like something is missing.
And that is not to really, because unfortunately, especially in marginalized communities, we are sometimes in places in food deserts, and we can't find these ingredients. And
Yeah.
this is where we have to really think about how to sustain ourselves and how to grow our own shit.
That's real. You know what I'm thinking about as you're saying that? Before we went live, we were talking about the hurricane and how the hurricane affected the people on the island. And as you know, there were already some struggles before the hurricane came. But I wonder how people are recovering in terms of getting like food and nourishment and clean things and all these, um, conveniences that we have, like how are people surviving on the island right now?
Uh, I and I think this campaign is really important because, as we know, this administration was not helpful at all when Hurricane Maria came. You know, and so it was also something where people started really organizing. At least from what I see that there are communities building up. There's mutual aids popping up. There's really a lot of work that's being done because, honestly and sadly, they can't count on the U.S. government to help them, especially this administration.
Yeah. And one of the reasons why we're here is to show the kind of power we have, to show that, there is a voice that we have. And it's interesting, especially being Boricuas, having this kind of conversation because Puerto Rico has an interesting relation to the United States. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, it's the oldest colony in the world, and I think people are kind of waking up. There are things like the Jones Act and things that have really, really, really held us back uh,
Mhm.
as a government. But I love all of the work that the young people are doing,
Yeah, for
the
sure.
universities are doing. Um, Man, like I think the 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 act and the protest that the pueblo had to get out Ricardo Rosselló was so damn powerful. Like, yo, we can do this,
Yeah.
Que hable el pueblo,
Hmm.
and they did. And I
Yeah,
think that, man, that's just like really a showing of force, a really showing of the power of the people.
for
Oh,
sure.
we were, I was like so proud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking about earlier, like different places we lived in the world, and one thing that I was thankful to have, like, been able to witness is I used to live in France. And one thing about France, it doesn't matter what's going on. People take it to the streets all the time, no fear, and always, like, lift their voices and things like that. So, like, people all over the world, we all have power, we all have a voice, and we can't live in fear, you know,
Yeah.
that what we have to share, is like not like that we're just working to no end, like
Yeah.
it is having effect. What do you
It, hmm hmm I agree with you, and what's so crazy is that this administration is really trying to suppress that.
Yeah.
Really trying to villainize us, really trying to suppress us,
Mhm.
suppress our voice. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, that's real. That's so
Yeah.
real.
I saw the other day, one of our representatives made a post on Instagram about something that they're trying to pass that is sort of like the junk terror bill that just passed in the Philippines, which makes demonstrating and protesting a felony. And they were like labeling what class felonies it would be. So blocking traffic is will would if people are not paying attention and don't vote, against this, blocking traffic would become a felony. Having, and then, like, how people are taking down these old antiquated Confederate statues, that will be a felony. So, we have to really pay attention and stay vigilant
I mean,
about.
I can't believe that this is 2020 and
Right.
what a shit show it is, and
Yeah.
how much, even as a country, we have regressed,
Mhm.
and really, like, after civil rights, right? Jim Crow, like, how much has stuff really changed,
Right.
Like, oh man, and I think obviously that's why we're here, and we know that it's so important for our voices to be heard and for us to vote, and that's why we're here. That's why we're here, y'all.
Yeah, that's why we're here. And I mean, I didn't think in my lifetime that I would see things like this. I thought this was something of my parents, you know, their days or something like that. But I didn't think that we would see. I mean, it's not that these things ever disappeared. Maybe some people say maybe that it's our access to cameras. Like the police are not worse now. It's just that they are more visible because of the use of cameras and things like that. I don't really know. I just know I can feel the weight of the chaos
It's
in
heavy,
the world.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
a
heavy.
lot more.
It's
Okay, let's go back to the trivia. You know what I hate? I hate when people post those quizzes like on Facebook and stuff like that, I get all into it. I put my answers and they never post the answer, right?
Uh,
So,
did
so
anybody guess which one was which, or what we
yeah,
have here? Did anybody guess? I put these up, right? I put this one,
yeah.
este aquí, y este aquí. Just trying to figure out if people know what they are.
Okay, so I guess I have to do the drum roll. Am I making
Yeah,
noise?
yeah.
Drum roll. Okay, let us know. Let us know. Let us know.
Yeah, what we got here?
I don't know. I'm just showing random pride.
En lo que estamos esperando, what we can do is we could probably go. I want to talk a little bit about historically about sofrito and definitely some of the story behind it. If that's cool, what do you think? That's cool.
Yeah, yeah. Please, we want to hear it.
So onion is something that is always present that I've seen in sofrito. That's definitely one of the things. Speaking about the instruments, though, I did mention earlier that this was definitely an instrument that was used, especially before the time food processors and stuff like that. And then here, I don't know if you guys can see, but this is un molino de cocina.
I don't think we can
Let me
see it.
turn, let me turn my camera a little bit so you guys can see. Ese es un molino. Un molino, you see it?
Oh,
What you would do is you put the vegetables in there and then it blends them. That was also something that was used, para hacer sofrito. Pero, so now we have food processors. In my classes, I still have my students actually, we go through the whole thing con el pilon, and it's fun, it's fun. Um, but always
so,
uh, cebolla, onions, and then the other ingredient is always garlic.
oh,
Cuando estamos usando un pilón, lo primero que va dentro del pilón, what goes first is the salts. I like using granulated salt because it creates this friction. And then you put that in there, and then it's not like bouncing all over the place. Nobody gets hurt, you know. And so, and let me just share my recipe for sofrito. 1 onion, 10 garlic cloves. Okay. The other thing that I always have in sofrito, at least in Chicago, I'm blessed enough, or we're blessed enough to have them at our supermarkets, is the ajicitos or the ají dulce. This is one of the ingredients that I would say, esto es clave, esto es importante, esto te va a dar ese sabor. And so when you find those packages in Puerto Rico that are already wrapped, it's like sofrito ready to go, is they definitely always have the ajicitos in there. If you don't have ajicitos in there, then I'm not saying it's not sofrito, but this is that flavor that you want. It's this one and this one here, which hopefully you guys guess what it is.
we can tell them. We can tell
Ustedes saben lo que es. So I always use, so let's use 10 of these ajicitos. I will, and this is the most tedious part of making sofrito, is rinsing these, opening these up, and taking the seeds out. In places in the Midwest, in Chicago, actually these grow okay. These will grow. So if you find a real beautiful ajicito and you want the seeds and you want to grow this will grow. This will grow. So, yeah. En algunos países también le dicen ají de misterio
them.
because you never know. Sometimes you get a hot one, sometimes you get a sweet one. And so, especially if you're mixing them up or you don't know the difference, a veces te sale uno un poco picoso. So, a veces le dicen ají de misterio. Ají is actually a Taino word. It's an indigenous word. And I like to think of peppers as a symbol of resilience, of resistance. Um, why would I say that? Because actually, the Caribs and the Indians of the Caribbean, to ward off the Spanish, would smoke peppers, peppers, to keep them away and to ward them off from their territory. So, yeah, and the indigenous folks, also the natives in places in Latin America, they do that to politicians. They will smoke them out of the buildings. It happens. It still happens today. So all of these traditions have actually been shared because why? Because the Tainos and these people, they traveled well, and so there's a lot of words that are Nahuatl that are also Taino words.
Mhm.
Dicen, por ejemplo, dicen que la palabra yuca viene de dónde? Viene de la Yucatán, the peninsula,
What?
where a lot of these Indians traveled. So,
Mhm.
yep,
That's interesting.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's also the name of a Taino god, isn't
Well,
it?
aquí,
Yuka. Yuka is the son of Atabe. Atabe is Mother Earth, and she gave birth to Yuka. And
no,
this, yeah. So it's always interesting,
and
right? We
es como, vamos a decir, el maíz en Mesoamérica, right? Because maíz was so vital. Well, yuca was the number one cultivated vegetable or starch of the Caribbean.
yeah,
So that makes sense because yuca was life.
yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
I'm looking at these comments, and people are saying we need to go and load up on some ají.
Get the ají. Bueno, también, también si no encuentran eso, también this is un ají grande que when you see it labeled in the supermarkets, it may be a Cubanelle pepper.
Oh,
Yeah. And just like a lot of the words in our food, it usually comes from where they did well in or maybe where they were popular. The one of the theories is, por ejemplo, el habanero, the pepper el habanero, came to be because en Habana era bien popular o se vendía ahí mucho.
mhm.
So le dieron el nombre habanero.
Okay. See, we didn't know that. Now,
So
I wanna. Oh, sorry, but I wanna like tell people how they can get involved with the Fuera Trump campaign and buy your ahi so we can so we can really get involved. But you text Fuera, which is 79606, or sign up. I mean, I'm sorry, you text Fuera to 79606, or you sign up at www.fueratrump.com, and you can phone bank, you can text bank to reach Latinos in Arizona and Florida, like where I am in Miami, Georgia, North Carolina. And guess what? The first 50 people who sign up will get a cute starter pack that comes with some goodies like a Fuera Trump mask. I need mine.
yo también.
Yeah. And there are also, like, we just launched the Fuera Trump caravans to go and knock on doors in Arizona and Florida. And there's a strict COVID safety plan, so you don't have to worry about your health being in danger. We got you. So you can get all of this information on fueratrump.com. And if you don't know how to spell it, just look at the text surrounding the videos. So let's get back to the sofrito. So are you gonna make the sofrito? We're ready to see.
Bueno, sí, so I don't, we can go through it. We can go through
Okay,
it. So
okay.
we have, let's recap. We have one onion, 10 garlic cloves. Garlic's really good. I love garlic, and garlic's so good for your
Ooh.
heart. We have 10 ajicitos, and then I use a Cubanelle pepper. También en otras variaciones, in other variations of sofrito, like Haitian epis, which is the Haitian variation of sofrito. Also, they use bell peppers a lot, and you could also use bell peppers. Let's say that you can't find ajicitos, you can use a red bell pepper and a green bell pepper, and that's cool.
You know something else interesting? Did you know that garlic and cayenne mix, like pepper, hot pepper, it's a natural, like it can ward off mosquitoes. So if
Ooh.
you eat a lot of it and have a lot in your system, it keeps mosquitoes away.
Mhm. I love it. I love it.
Mhm.
So bien sencillo, right? And then this is, I guess I'm going to give it away. This is the other ingredient that is, in my opinion, is really necessary for sofrito. It would be recao or culantro. In Trinidad, it's called shadow benning. If you can't find it, you have no Caribbean supermarkets. Guess what? You could find this in the Asian market because in Vietnamese food, it is vital. It is something that's always cooked in things like pho, and so you could find this in the Asian markets. So that is recao. That is another ingredient that I feel that is actually something that is pretty vital. So I put a whole bunch, the whole bunch of the recao, and then I use this ingredient as well. Ustedes me imagino que lo conocen. This is cilantro or
Mhm.
cilantrillo. Okay, I cut off the ends, but the stem has a lot of flavor, so I keep the stems in. Um, and I put the whole bunch in my sofrito. También antes, and this is one of those old school ingredients that I love to use. This is called oregano brujo,
Yeah.
or also le dicen oregano cubano. They may
Mhm.
call it in English big leaf thyme. Yeah, this is pungent, so you can use, this is native to Africa. And you, it used to be used in things like alcolados. You guys know what alcolado is? Alcolado, I guess that could be one of our quizzes, our quiz questions, but it's used in alcolado. Es bien potente, so I just use like one or two leaves, and that's it. En habichuelas, eso sí da candela.
Mhm.
It's good.
Yeah. I got a big tree in my backyard.
You do?
Yeah, yeah.
Do
I
you,
know it smells so nice right there. What do you say?
do you use it?
Yeah, I use it. I use that and all those things you put up there. Come on, like I have to use all of these
Qué
things.
bien, qué bien. So in the old recipes of sofrito, like in the 19th century, some of the first times that it was documented, actually it used to be called something that they would call fondo. Maybe it comes because it was the foundation o era lo que estaba en el fondo de esa olla, de ese caldero,
Yeah.
o le decían fondo.
Hmm.
And this is in the 19th century and some of the first documentations of sofrito. When I asked mi mamá de crianza, who would have been 100 years old today, I asked her, and this is before the word sofrito started coming out. It was just los vegetales que va dentro la comida, lo primero que va dentro de esa olla. It wasn't necessarily called something. As academics, you always want to label everything, but straight up, it was just the foundation of the food. Y era empezando tu comida.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
ese era el nombre, le decían fondo. En ese tiempo también, and we're talking before refrigeration, there was a lot of things that were used that maybe you may not think of using today. Lard was one of those things because that lard would actually protect your sofrito. You could keep it out, and what that lard did was it created a barrier so that bacteria wouldn't penetrate inside your sofrito. You could keep it out. When it was time for you to cook, you just scoop a little bit and put it in there, and it already has the aceite and it's ready to go.
Hmm.
Esa gente en ese tiempo, they already had everything thought out. They were brilliant. They were brilliant.
Now,
So,
I want you to talk about something else too, because we're looking at all this sofrito flavor, right? But
dime.
then we also have musical flavor. And so I want you to tell us a little bit about your involvement in music. And as it says here, you're a co founder of an Afro Puerto Rican musical group, right? So tell us about it.
See, you started talking about it. I started getting all emotional because, um, yeah, Booyah's my family. Um, we've been together for 11 years, but yeah, I mean, they are my extended family. Lo que hacemos es una música bien profundo, en mi opinión, is very profound. We started doing it about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, when it was not necessarily a popular music. Now it's getting a lot of movement. Pero en ese tiempo, in that time, people weren't feeling it. People did not, even Puerto Ricans did not want to associate themselves with it because of its blackness. Let's
Yeah.
keep it frank and honest.
Mhm.
And so,
Y tú estás hablando de bomba, right?
la bomba puertorriqueña.
Tell people what bomba is so that they have a better understanding of bomba.
Bomba es percusión, bomba es baile, bomba es cantar. Bomba is something that was actually born predominantly in the coastal areas, but not exclusively in the sugarcane plantations. Heavily influenced by not only the Pan Caribbean immigrants, but also the African ancestors that came to the island. And so it's heavily African, heavily really felt, and a music of resistance. Also was played as a music of joy. And today, actually, when Rosselló was taken out of office, it was bomba that was at the forefront, um, in front of el Capitolio,
El
and
violador eres tú.
and so that's what bomba is. And so if you have any interest in that, and I think you should, you could always look us up, Bomba con Buya. Buya, you could just look up Bomba in Chicago and we will come up.
Mhm. Okay, so we're ready to see the sofrito. Come on.
Okay, perdona. So, okay. También, I want to also talk about something also about the and Omilani. I think that, and we have not talked about this, and I don't know how you're gonna feel about the next thing that I'm gonna say, and a lot of people are gonna feel about what I'm gonna say. But if there is one thing that in our food that reeks of colonialism, it's pork. There
I don't mess with the pork.
you go. Okay. And I mean, I say that because that was a symbol of the Spanish colonizers. It was a symbol of Catholicism. It was a symbol, if you notice, even today around Christmas time, it is something that is highlighted. And so I tend to not hide any meat in my food. Um, Shout out to all the vegans and vegetarians out there. But you know, whatever it is that you enjoy, whatever it is that you like, that's cool. En las recetas viejas de Puerto Rico, siempre había there was in those times that was used because that was one of the first aceites de Puerto Rico. It was aceite de coco, aceite de ajonjolí, which is sesame, and then lard. Después, when things started being imported, and if you were rich enough, if you were from the higher class, then you were able to afford olive oil. Pero there were very little families that were able to afford that. ¿Qué tú crees?
Yeah. No, I mean, like, yeah, I'm listening to you. Like, yeah, I didn't know that it was a sign of colonialism, though. The
You
that
know,
was,
it is just a symbol of the Spanish, like, you know, of the
yeah, yeah,
Spanish,
yeah,
because the Moors conquered the Spanish,
right.
and you know the Moors
Okay,
didn't eat any ham or
nah, not
chicken,
at all. Yeah,
so of course it was their food to it was kind of their national pride, you know.
yeah,
And so they kind of handed it off to us, to places like us and
yeah,
Guam and the Philippines and
yeah.
where the Spanish went.
And you know what's interesting? Well, my dad is Filipino, and they have lechon there too.
Seguro.
Same, everything is the same. Yeah, so we see the
Got it. So that's there too. And I'm not saying that lechon is not tasty or that it's not great or anything like that, but I just want to call it what it is, you know.
yeah. But I was also remembering, like, being a kid, and
Yeah.
my grandmother or great grandmother would take whatever that white stuff is and put it, and you watch it slide across and sizzle on the pan. Must have been lard or some kind of
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
shortening. Now I could pretend it didn't smell good, but maybe it, maybe it did. But I haven't messed with pork, gosh, since I was like 10 or 11.
How did that happen? Can you tell us?
I went through different stages at that time. Imagine, I'm 11 years old. I read this book by Shahrazad Ali, and it was called How Not to Eat Pork or Life Without the Pig. And when I found out how filthy the pig was, I never wanted to touch it again. I was also around a lot of Nation of Islam people and stuff like that. I grew up around conscious people, so yeah, like I couldn't see myself conscious and eating pig at that time, but I
Yeah,
don't judge.
no judgment on people that do eat it,
No
but
judgment.
I used to. I had this girlfriend, and we used to clean the pig, and it was the only animal that we would like rub it down, clean it, and we would always find like masses on it. We would always
Yeah,
find lumps on it. We would find things that were really ugly that to me looked like, yo, that looks like cancer to me.
yeah,
And it's the truth. Like I said, no judgment on people that do
no
eat it.
judgment.
No,
Yeah.
no judgment. You know.
Hey, some of these bones were formed from pork eating people, so
Yeah,
I can't
that's
make
right. That's right.
judgment on that. Yeah.
Also, I wanted to add about sofrito as far and I want to associate it also with something that I think is really delicious and it's not the same. I know. Don't send me any hate mail because of this. But if you think of like salsa sabrosa, like I'm talking about like Mexican salsa, usually they roast the peppers, right? They're smoked, and that really elevates the flavor. I know of families, and I've done this with my classes too, where you could smoke this. You could smoke your garlic, you could smoke the onion, you could smoke the peppers, and that's going to elevate your flavor to another level.
Oh, yeah.
You
It
can do
makes me miss
that.
Puerto Rico. Like, seeing all of this. It's not the same because like I've tried to find Puerto Rican food here in Miami. And when you know how it tastes on the island, like looking for that authentic mofongo and all of those things is hard. It's hard.
Yeah, yeah. We'll see. We'll see.
Mhm.
So, we'll see. I mean, I guess because I'm going to we're on I didn't bring out the food processor or anything like that. I think I could just we could talk and I can start just
Yeah.
putting together this sofrito.
Hmm.
Pues sí.
And don't forget, people. First of all, make sure you're registered to vote because we're chopping it up. We're cooking great food over here. Well, I'm saying we, like I'm cooking too, but you're cooking great food over there. But make sure you register to vote, and make sure you get involved. You can check your registration too at trump.com/voting. And then also don't forget to text them and find out how you can get involved. There are so many different ways. Everybody doesn't want to get out there and knock on doors. That's all right. You can make phone calls. There are so many ways you can support and get involved. But we also we need people. Like we need people to get involved. And don't think you don't make a difference, because remember that video that played at the beginning of the segment that showed, like how much of a difference that we all make. We do count. Your word does count. Your vote does count, and every phone call counts. So you can sign up to phone bank or text bank. That means you don't even have to talk to them. You can just text them. So that we can,
They make it so easy for
yeah,
you.
make it easy for you. You don't have to go door to door or talk to anybody physically. You can just text them, and the first 50 people who sign up will get a cute starter pack. I'm waiting for mine though. Yeah, because you get a mask and all kinds of stuff. So I'm looking forward to getting mine. Yeah, and getting involved. We have to stay involved. What's the thing about it is sometimes um it takes things to happen for people to know why it's important for them to use their voice. And it's a lot happening.
There's
And
so much happening.
yeah,
So much happening.
and our vote is very critical in this election. You see, a lot of people are appealing to us for that reason.
Right.
Which I know I'm in a safe space because it says "Fuera Trump." I don't understand, especially Boricuas who could see Trump come there after the hurricane, throwing paper towels at our people,
Being
like
disrespectful.
animals.
Yep. You know what, Omilani, yo te voy a decir la verdad. Yo no soy muy político. I'm not gonna go on social media and like talk about politics, you know.
Hmm.
Uh, but at this point, you know, if you have uh, man, if you have a family, if you have kids, if you have immigrant friends and family, if you have anybody who's being affected through DACA, if you have, you know, I mean, there's essential workers. There's so many people affected, you know, and we're out here. We really have no safety net. This administration has shown us that they're not going to provide for us,
Yeah.
and that's why we're here. Y yo que no hablo de político, I feel that it's important enough that
Mhm.
we need to vote. We need to vote.
And I mean, maybe to a certain extent, me too. I don't want to have to be political or anything like that. But in particular, as a Black woman, as an Afro Latina, when I'm walking in this world, I worry about my safety.
Correct.
Worry about my family's safety.
Correct.
What happens when my brother is, walking somewhere or driving somewhere? Is he going to be perceived as a threat too? Am I perceived as a threat when I walk down the street? So for me, these things have not just been about Democrat or Republican. I feel like it's
Right.
well
Right.
beyond that. I
And
feel like this is voted for my life because
yes,
I'm not safe
yes.
as a
And
Black woman
and
in this
there's
world.
yeah, and there's so much work to do.
Yeah,
Even if Biden should win, there's so much work still to do. The fact that, you know, this whole, you know, electoral college seems to favor the red states, and you know, Trump can lose by 3 million votes and still be in office. I mean, in order for us to change things and to change these policies, we also need people that represent us.
for
Because,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah. And we're using like um some archaic structures. So if I remember correctly, and I'm not a political scientist, so if I'm incorrect, somebody let me know. But if I remember correctly, where the electoral college comes from is it had to deal with enslaved states. And because black people were only considered three-fifths of humans, they needed something to balance out, the numbers, like the votes that actually counted. And that's why we have this electoral college, but it still affects us in present time.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's
But
crazy.
I don't know. We have to, continue to stay involved and be aware, because there are more and more things that are on the ballots, far more than just presidential election. There's a lot of things that are on the ballots that affect our day-to-day life. How schools
Exactly.
operate. Um,
Knowledge is power. We know that. And to learn about our local government, to learn about what's happening in our communities, yo, that's important too. As important or more important, you
mhm,
know. Y tenemos que saber esas cosas.
yeah, I remember going to an event, uh, and there. Oh yeah, we want to see what you're doing. Is there a way for the camera to show,
Yeah,
like? the-
quieren ver lo que yo estoy haciendo, ustedes van a ver.
Okay.
So the thing about when you're making sofrito en un pilón is that you're not going to have that smoothie. You're gonna have like something that's a little. It's gonna be definitely
Have some
more
texture.
texture.
Yeah,
And when I think of food, good food, I think of texture. And
yeah,
this is going to have texture. That means you have to use your teeth. But also when it cooks down, it's so soft you really don't notice
mhm.
that. And so that this is, I do this and I use the pilon sometimes when I'm doing something really fast. Cuando estoy haciendo sofrito. Definitely for my ajo, definitely for mofongo, I'll definitely use um, the pilon.
Yeah.
And so this one right here, this pilon right here was given to me by one of my aunts in Ponce. And so I'll just show you guys a little bit para que vean. Ahí,
Mm.
and so I'm just breaking it down a little bit.
Now, I have a technical, thing like that is coming from the control room, and that is we have to wrap up in about 8 minutes. We have
Okay.
we have about 8 minutes, but um, what are some? Let's see. What is something that you ate this week that got you through the day?
What's something that I ate this week that
This
was?
week that got you through the day, or something that stands out that you had this week?
That I had this week, man. I cook every day, and um, you know what? I really try to stay away from certain foods, and just because I do Caribbean cooking, but I did for the 33rd Ward in Chicago. Shout out to Rosana Rodriguez. The and I did risotto. And,
Oh,
I put a little bit of a Puerto Rican twist on it, but I did that for like the first time.
yeah,
Apparently, they liked it.
yeah,
But I did risotto. That was something that I didn't expect that I would like. But I also I feel like I have to expand and continue to grow and continue to learn because this learning process, just esto va a continuar para siempre. So it's something that I really wanted to study. Of course, I studied before I cooked it, and I gave it a few test runs. But anyways, I think risotto was something that I cooked that just stood out to me just because I don't do it ever.
mhm.
And
So
then in cooking
now,
class, in the Caribbean cooking class that I do, we had some great chefs from Puerto Rico. Chef Grub, Maria Grub from Santurce, También de Santurce, St. Croix, we had Chef Santana, and they did some great food with us. Oh, we did doubles recently, a Trinidadian food, and yeah, that was flame. If you know the street food from Trinidad called doubles, like an Indo-Caribbean type of street food, man, yeah, that
And
was great.
get them on the street for like less than $2, and
Uh-huh.
it's
You got
so good. And you
so
put,
delicious, so delicious. Get
yeah,
the doubles, learn about doubles.
make
It's
me miss
so
my
great.
Trini days.
Yeah.
So, in case we don't get to it, after you do this part, what else? What else do you do to make the sofrito?
So I'm going to put a little bit of oil to kind of shield it up. I may, I don't think I'm going to freeze it because I'm going to use it pretty soon. If
Uh-huh.
people, I know that to store this, you could freeze it. You could put it in ice trays, and then you could actually put it. And when it freezes, then you put it in. If they, then you can use it, but I use it so much that I don't need to freeze it.
Yeah.
I really don't need to freeze it. So that's what I'm going to do.
How did you get into cooking?
I got into cooking because about actually through tragedy. I developed cirrhosis of the liver in my 30s, and so it was through a workout supplement that I was taking, and so I was like, "Yo, I need to eat natural. I have to know exactly what's in my food. I
Yeah.
have to change my life." And I did. I really never stopped. I just kept learning and learning and learning, and it just never stopped for me. Yeah,
Wow.
fue. And so like for the last 5 or 6 years, I've been doing the cooking classes.
Hmm.
It's been wonderful. It's been a great journey that started through tragedy, through my testimony of tragedy. Yeah.
How can people join the classes?
So they could look me up in Urban Pilon. I usually post when I'm doing my classes. Right now, because of Latino History Month, it's been so busy. I don't have time for a lot of my own projects.
Yeah.
All the classes that I'm doing is a part of my projects, but o sea, ya en noviembre voy a tener mis clases. So ya pronto, ya pronto.
Hmm. Okay, so we just have a few more minutes left. Nice, 3 more minutes because we're going to have to shut down at the end of the hour. But it has been wonderful getting to know you. Um,
Likewise,
yeah,
we become friends
we
now.
did. So you
Yeah,
have to stay in touch. Um, and for everybody else, make sure you follow him. Your IG is, can you tell them your IG so
yeah,
that,
it's simply just Urban Pilon. Urban
yeah.
Pilon, también en Facebook, también es Urban Pilon. If you want to follow Buya, which I would encourage you to, it would be Bomba con Buya. O Milani, would you please give all your handles as well?
Oh, yeah. Well, mine is latinegras.com. You can find the links for omilani.com. I got a new album coming out of some world music. So I'm a singer and a filmmaker. You can check it out there. I always have new film works, in progress too. So you can follow me on IG at Omilani or at Latinegras Love, or check out the website. Everything is there. Yeah.
Love it, love
Thank you
it.
for reminding me. Like I never think about that kind of
Come
stuff.
on now.
Yeah. So get involved. Text fuera to 79606, or you can sign up at fueratrump.com. And don't forget all the different things you can do. First 50 people get a nice swag bag. And we have a lot that we're fighting for. Like I said, it feels like we're fighting for our life. So I
Please.
want to thank you again, Chef Roberto, for this fabulous cooking lesson. So we have to follow you so you can take some classes and things like that. So
Dale, dale. You're always welcome.
thank you. And peace and love to everybody else out there. Stay in touch and follow mi gente at con mi gente. on social media. So we wish you all a beautiful night and say a nice wepa for the Boricua takeover. See you all.
Gracias.